He profiled a black man for driving a luxury car. He lost everything because of it. But what happened next shocked the entire city. Because a man he wronged didn't seek revenge. He offered redemption. This true-to-life inspired story will make you rethink justice, forgiveness, and what it really means to break a cycle. After the public fallout from his racial profiling of Malik Carter, former Officer Ryan Whitaker became the most talked-about name in Atlanta for all the wrong reasons. The clip of him handcuffing Malik beside his luxury Maybach while ignoring all legal protocols went viral. Within weeks, he was stripped of rank, placed on probation, and finally asked to resign under mounting community pressure. Whitaker's career was over. 20 years on the force, gone in minutes. His name became synonymous with everything wrong with modern policing. His marriage cracked under the weight of shame. Old friends disappeared. Even his own son, now 18, refused to speak to him. For the first time, Ryan realized, I didn't just lose my job, I lost myself. Months passed. Whitaker moved into a small apartment on the west side, ironically not far from the very communities he once patrolled with suspicion. He picked up odd jobs, security work, night shifts at a warehouse. But the guilt ate away at him. One night, after weeks of silence, he penned a letter, not meant for courts or media, but for Malik himself. Mr. Carter, I don't expect your forgiveness. I wouldn't even ask for it. I just want you to know I've thought about that day every hour since. I see my failure clearly now, not just as an officer, but as a man, and I'm trying to be better, even if no one ever sees it, even if I'm never trusted again. He tucked it away, never mailed it. Shame has a way of silencing even the most necessary truths. On a rainy Thursday afternoon, Ryan heard a knock at his apartment door. Through the peephole, he saw a man in a sharp gray coat, holding a leather folio. It was Malik Carter. Ryan froze. His mouth dried up. Slowly, he opened the door. Malik stood silent for a moment before saying calmly, You don't have to speak. I just want to talk. Ryan stepped aside. They sat across from each other, once divided by power, now leveled by time. Malik placed a letter on the table. I got this from your son, he said quietly. He found it in your desk. Gave it to someone in my office. Ryan's hands trembled. I never meant for anyone to read it. And yet you wrote it, Malik said. That counts. There was a pause before Malik continued. You ruined my day that afternoon. You humiliated me. But what you wrote, it showed me something I didn't expect. What's that? That you're still human. Malik leaned forward. I run a youth leadership program in South Atlanta. Mostly young black men who've been through the system. Many who don't trust cops, or white men, or society. They've been lied to, used, thrown away. Ryan nodded. I know what I was, probably still am to many. Malik continued. What if you told them your story? What if you stood in front of them and said exactly what you said in that letter? Not as a cop, as a man who failed. Ryan's face paled. You want me to speak to them? I want you to serve them. No uniform, no badge, just honesty. The first time Ryan entered the youth program center, 20 black teenagers stared at him with folded arms and narrow eyes. Some stood up, one spat on the floor, but Malik introduced him calmly. This is Ryan Whitaker, the man who profiled me. He lost his job. But he's here today because he's owning what he did, and he's not asking for your forgiveness. He's asking for your attention. Ryan stood, hands shaking, and he told his story about how he was raised in a neighborhood where black boys were feared, not befriended, how the department trained him to see color as a threat, not a context, how he let fear guide his badge, and how, in that moment with Malik, he saw himself become the man he never wanted to be. Some kids cursed at him. Some left, but one boy, Jalen, stayed behind. You ever think a cop could be scared too? Jalen asked. Ryan nodded. Every day. But fear doesn't excuse failing people. Jalen looked down. My dad's been in prison since I was 6. I've hated every white cop since. Ryan didn't offer a rebuttal. Just this, start with that hate, and build something better from it. That's what I'm trying to do. Months passed. Ryan became a regular guest speaker. He took job offers helping reformed officers work with community youth. He partnered with Malik on a documentary series about bias, accountability, and healing. And Malik? He didn't forget what happened that day in the parking lot, but he chose to own the narrative rather than be victimized by it. Everyone wants justice, Malik said at a televised interview. But true justice is not revenge. It's redemption. Some wounds cut deep, but they don't have to stay opened. Malik chose to forgive, not because Whitaker deserved it, but because he refused to carry the weight of hate. And Whitaker, he didn't just lose his badge. He found his conscience. We don't fix the world by tearing each other down. We fix it by holding wrongs accountable and then building something better from ruins. Former Officer Ryan Whitaker thought redemption began and ended with one apology. But when Malik gives him a new challenge, facing others he's wronged, he must walk into a courtroom full of people who remember him only as the man who hurt them. Will his apology hold? Or will his past drag him back into disgrace? This heart-stopping, true-to-life, inspired story is about accountability, growth. 2 months after Ryan Whitaker began speaking at Malik Carter's youth program, Malik approached him with something far more difficult. "I have one more door for you to walk through," he said. "But this time, it's not a classroom. It's a courtroom." Ryan stiffened. Courtroom? Restorative justice hearing. Civilian-led. You won't be arrested, but you will be held accountable. For what? For what you did to others before me. We found 4 complaints over the years. 4 men, black, working class, everyone dismissed by internal affairs. But now they've agreed to speak. Ryan swallowed hard. "This is what growth really looks like," Malik said. "Not just talking to strangers, but standing before the people who already know what you did." The hearing took place in a neutral courtroom space, not criminal, but community-led. There were no lawyers, no handcuffs, just chairs set in a circle. At the front sat 4 men. Asterisk Elias Monroe, now 60, who'd been tossed during a traffic stop while reaching for his insurance. Asterisk Tard Johnson, a high school coach who'd been slammed to the ground in front of the students for resisting, though he had complied. Asterisk David Wright, a once promising architecture student pulled over so many times by Whitaker he dropped out of school from anxiety. Asterisk and Marcus Little, a father of 3 who was wrongfully accused of burglary after walking through a gated neighborhood to visit a friend. They all remembered Officer Whitaker, and none of them looked ready to forgive. Elias spoke first. "I still limp because of you. You don't remember me, but I remember the spit on your chin when you called me aggressive. I was scared. You tossed me like I was an animal." Ryan nodded solemnly. "I remember the stop. I didn't know I left you with that. You left me with more than pain. You left me with fear. For every cop I've seen since." Tarek went next. "I taught high school football. You cuffed me in front of my team for walking out of Walmart with a bag of cleats. You said I looked suspicious." Ryan bit his lip. "I judge your appearance, not your behavior. That was wrong." David stood without speaking, just held up a folder. Inside were 14 citations he'd gotten from Ryan in 2 years. Nothing ever criminal, just harassment. "I never forgot your face. You made me feel like I was never allowed to win." Ryan felt the tears burn. "You're right. I can't undo that. But I can own it. And I will." Finally, Marcus. "My son was 5. He watched you drag me off the sidewalk. You said, 'You people don't belong here.' I've never walked that neighborhood again." The room was silent. Ryan looked each man in the eyes. "I don't ask for your forgiveness. I only ask for the chance to change the system that let me get away with it for years. I failed you, not once, but repeatedly. If I can spend the rest of my life helping rebuild what I broke, I will." The civilian panel, made up of activists, clergy, and community members, deliberated for 2 hours. In the end, they issued no legal sentence, only a mandate. Asterisk Ryan would continue speaking publicly, but now under the supervision of a community equity board. Asterisk, he would attend implicit bias therapy and trauma-informed care training. Asterisk, he would spend 1 year mentoring youth through the Carter Foundation, but also meeting monthly with victims of police misconduct. And lastly, Mr. Whitaker must listen. Always listen. because listening is the first act of justice. 1 year later, Ryan stood once again before Malik and the same 4 men. But this time, they were seated together, not apart, and beside them, their sons, grandsons, students. David had re-enrolled in architecture school. Targ's players had invited Ryan to speak at their senior night. And Marcus? He walked that same neighborhood again, with his son beside him. "I used to think you were the worst kind of man," Marcus admitted. "But now I think you're proof people can change. It's one thing to say sorry, it's another to stand in the wreckage of your past and help rebuild the people you broke." Malik Carter didn't just call out injustice. He rewrote its ending by forcing accountability and offering transformation. Officer Whitaker lost his badge, but in losing it, he found something more valuable, his humanity. And sometimes that's the only uniform that matters. Was Malik right to forgive him? Could you? Tell us in the comments. Subscribe for more powerful, emotional stories that reveal hard truths and inspire real change. Don't scroll past. Share this